swinging the calabashes and dancing a welcome dance for us. We saw that their music was part of creating their community of women there. It creates identity on an individual level. It contributes to the social level and also the national level.
For those reasons and many others, the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, in partnership with ECHO International, saw the urgent need to incorporate music and culture into the school curriculum. And on Monday, over 30 teachers from lower basic schools within the Greater Banjul area converged for a week-long tutorial on music and culture. The goal is to get Gambian children not only au fait with their culture, but as well understand and appreciate it. Teachers are the primary target in pursuance of the lofty ideals to the teaching of music and culture in schools.
For any activity that comes to help us to engage our teachers, who will in turn help our children to understand and appreciate the link between our culture and music, and also the importance it plays in our society, that program cannot be underestimated.
We are not opportune to be exposed to culture proper. This training, I believe, is going to provide you with information and equip you with skills and knowledge to take back to your schools, to share with your fellow teachers who were not opportune to be here.
Mam Tamsir Njai, Principal Education Officer and Head of Broadcasting Unit and Minister of Basic and Secondary Education, is the brainchild behind the 5-day tutorial. As a renowned musician, Mr. Njai said music and culture can help in no small measure in redirecting the minds of African children whom he bemoaned seems to be carried away by foreign music and culture.
It has been in our system for ages, but for a certain reason, we think that it is dying out, and we need to revive the teaching of music and cultural studies. I started singing as a schoolboy.
Music is universal language of mankind, connoting different emotions. In that case, it enhances knowledge. In ancient Africa and up to date in some parts of Africa, music, particularly sounds of drums, are used to relay communal messages. This, according to P.S. Chernobari of the Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, once again depicts the importance of music and culture in shaping one's thoughts. Equipping lower basic teachers with music and cultural skills in efforts to instill in children's mind the sense of belonging is one of the most shaping influences of life the Ministry of Higher Education is pleased to be associated.
Most of us would recognize the fact that when our mothers are pounding rice or coos, in most cases they like to sing. Those of you who have been to the farm, you know that when there is these community farms, when they are all helping out on one person's farm, they sing. We know that when there is a funeral, for some reasons also we sing a dirge. That is a song that is sad. When there is a child who is born, we sing. When a king is being installed, we sing. So music has been part of our daily lives. It has been part of us all along.
The basis of Culture Kids is to make sure that the young generation of Africans will grow up and become very important players in a global world. And I think that is the main task for this journey of ours.
P.S. Barry emphasized that time is ripe for society to free up their minds from the belief that nobles should not learn music, but only to be praised. That music is only for the caste is a fallacy. Louis Mendy, GRTS.
The general public is hereby informed that the Department of Physical Planning and Housing will embark on a demolition exercise along the Batel-Harding Highway from the traffic light junction at Kairaba Avenue to the Brikama-Banjul Highway intersection by the Banjul International Airport fence line. A media release from the said department says that property owners along the stretch who illegally extended their premises onto the 40-meter reserve, either in the form of beautification or other structures, are hereby requested to remove these illegal structures with immediate effect. Therefore, failure to comply with this request, the release adds, will result to the removal of the illegal structures by the demolition team. The National Environment Agency, with support from the UNDP, has launched its project on resilience of vulnerable coastal areas and communities to climate change in the Gambia. The project, as Rohibite reports, was launched at the Inception program organized by the NEA.
To reducing the Gambia's vulnerability to sea level rise and associated impacts of climate change by improving coastal defenses and enhancing adaptive capacities of coastal communities. This project is said to have come at the right time, as the Gambia is highly vulnerable to any rise in sea level because of its low coastal areas. High sea level, which is due to climate effects, can seriously affect the country through coastal flooding and erosion, loss of natural living resources like fish and shellfish production, population movement, beaches and other coastal areas, thereby affecting tourism, agriculture and several other development sectors.
The National Environment Agency, as a project implementing partner, will ensure accountability, transparency, timely implementation, management and achievement of results. The agency will be assisted in this role, I believe, by the UNDP and the relevant structures to be in place. During the implementation, the agency will closely work with other government agencies such as the Ministry of Works, Department of Agriculture, Fisheries, Gambia Tourism Board, etc.
As climate change is considered a threat to survival for humanity, economically and socially, qualify the reason why the beneficiary of the project are the vulnerable communities.
As a country, we have to ensure that this project is implemented in consonant with our Vision 2020, in consonant with the Program for Accelerated Growth. It is not going to be a project that would be isolated from the aspirations of our development goal, because adaptation to the impacts of climate change is something that has to build on our development efforts.
This project is considered the biggest in the 25 least developed countries due to the Gambia government's commitment to addressing climate change challenges, but the government is also looking at other means of addressing climate change related risks.
The Gambia's coastal zone in particular is very vulnerable, and given the lack of institutional capacity to systematically identify and address climate-driven changes in risk patterns, the government of the Gambia is proposing a project to reduce the vulnerability of coastal communities to climate change-induced risks. The project would therefore be based on the following components. 1. Policy and institutional development for climate risk management in coastal zones. 2. Physical investments in coastal protection against climate change risks. 3. Strengthening livelihood of coastal communities at risk from climate change.
As climate change is a reality which is happening and will continue to occur, and the Gambia is said to be no exception, this is the fact why these officials from all regions and diverse sectors within the country are busy working on means of implementing the project so as to protect the country's coastal areas.
Among others, which we have experienced as a country, the level and degree of erosion on our coastline cannot be overemphasized. All these together seriously threaten our development infrastructure as a country and the livelihoods of communities dependent on these areas for sustenance. Ladies and gentlemen, from the perspective of UNDP, this project could not have come at the better time, given its direct relevance to the Millennium Development Goals-based page UN Development Assistance Framework, Country Program Document, and Country Program Action Plan, and overall to UNDP's new Strategic Plan 2014 through 17.
This 4-year project aims to reduce the Gambia's vulnerability to sea level rise and associated impacts of climate change by improving coastal defenses and enhancing adaptive capacities of coastal communities, conceived